I never imagined that a month-long work assignment would turn my life upside down. But then again, I've learned that when you hand over the keys, you never really know what someone else will do with them. It started in early August when the European sales director position opened in Berlin, and I volunteered to cover it. 4 weeks in the German capital, networking over sausage platters and Weissbier, living in a downtown apartment whose lease I'd paused months ago. It felt like the career leap of a lifetime. Back home in my little two-story bungalow, Peach Street, number 15, I'd arranged for a property manager to collect the rent. My parents, Carol and Jim, agreed to store my stuff in their basement, pay the electric bill, and basically treat my home as a rented investment. They'd even picked up a key from the realtor before I left. I pictured them dropping by once a week for coffee in the mail, maybe poking around in the garden a bit. They promised to look after the place like I would. I trusted them. Then the email arrived on a sunny Tuesday afternoon in mid-September, a terse message from my property manager. "You are gent. We have a notice of sale posted on your front door. Your house is going to auction." My fingers shook as I scanned the note. It was dated 2 weeks prior. Someone had served it on August 20th, 3 days after I arrived in Berlin. I clicked reply all to the email chain. "Jerry, what on earth? Did you approve a sale? Sarah." No response for an hour. My stomach twisted like a phone cord. I half expected Jerry to say it was a clerical error, or a misunderstanding, or some nightmare scenario that would evaporate in an apology. Instead, my phone rang, and Carol's voice crackled on the line. "Sar, honey, guess what?" she chirped. "Jim and we sold the house. We needed the money for the new business." I blinked against the bright glare of my office monitor. "Wait, what? Sold my house?" I think I actually said it aloud, like I was trying to conjure facts into being. "You sold it? Without telling me?" "Well, we left you a note," she said. "On the counter, in your kitchen." I hustled over to my computer's webcam and activated the property manager's security cam feed. There, on the neat granite countertop, was an envelope marked in her loopy handwriting. Only I hadn't been home to retrieve it. I asked her, voice harsh. "When? Why?" She paused. "End of August, Sarah. We got a call from a developer. You know the Miller place on Oak and 3rd? They want to build a mini condo complex. We could list it, get top dollar." So we did. "Why didn't you come by to pick up your mail?" My jaw went slack. "Because I'm 35 years old, Mom, and in Berlin, and I thought my parents would literally not sell me out of my own house." "Well, you didn't answer your phone," she said, as if I were the problem. "We did you a favor. Got you $560,000 in equity, minus closing." Closing? The vision of my childhood bedroom, the garden I'd planted the lilacs in, the squeaky front porch steps, all evaporated in one breath. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to scream. Instead, I whispered, "You had no right." "I'm sorry you feel that way," she said. And then, "But it was your house. We're your parents. We used our power of attorney." She hung up without waiting for me. I stared at the screen, mute. "Power of attorney," I repeated, as though it were a foreign phrase. The words scrolled in neon. They'd done it legitimately, but without my knowledge, without my consent. I felt, I'm not sure what, betrayed, violated, abandoned. The only person who could have executed that document mid-August was my father, and he was the one who'd hovered over me when I'd signed it years ago after my cancer scare, saying, "Just in case, darling." I called my attorney in New York immediately. "Find out who bought the house," I said. "We're going to sue to void the sale." The next day, while I sifted through legal precedents in my makeshift flat office, I got a message from a German client asking to reschedule our Wednesday demo. When I went to confirm new times, I saw another email buried at the bottom. "Apartment sold." I looked at the header, "My broker in Berlin." My rental lease was gone too, rented out to another expat. They'd sold my home and leased out my temporary flat 2 weeks before I left. Someone was cleaning house. I pressed pause on the Berlin project, caught the next available flight back to Seattle, and landed in a fog of fury and jet lag. At the airport exit, I dialed my attorney again. "Where is the title now? Who is the buyer?" "Thompson," the voice said. "All business. The buyer is Pacific Horizon Developments. They closed on September 2nd. The deed transferred September 5th. I'm pulling the escrow records now." I slammed my phone shut. Pacific Horizon. The name rang a bell. An upstart developer that had pitched the Oak and 3rd site at the last neighborhood planning meeting, promising boutique modern condos for the discerning professional. I dismissed them as urban gentrification nuisances. But now I realized why they were so eager for that lot, a half block from where my parents lived. Perfect, and they'd already renegotiated a lease with my neighbor, the florist, smooth as butter. My attorney called back at 3 p.m. "The purchase is clean. Your parents signed the POA and closing documents. Pacific Horizon can't void it absent evidence of elder coercion or incapacity. We'll need to take depositions. I set down the phone. My life had become a legal nightmare, and it was about to get worse. That evening, I trudged up the porch steps of my parents' home. The lilacs were gone, cut down weeks ago, wooden stumps peeking from the mulch. My mother answered the door, her face pale. She opened it, saw me, and tried a smile. I stepped inside past her trembling shoulders and met my father in the living room, tie loosened, eyes fixed on the TV, muted to the local news. When he saw me, he shot up. "Sarah, welcome home. So great to see you." I ignored him and pointed at the couch. "Where's the family room rug? Where are the old photos?" He faltered, then said, "We needed more space for the staging. You'll understand when you see the model unit." I shook my head. "Have you lost your minds?" I shouted. Living room debris rattled. My mother sank onto a chair, weeping. "I trusted you. I left my house in your hands. And you sold it out from under me." He held up his hands, panic flickering in his eyes. "Honey, you thought what? That you could do whatever you wanted because you're my parents." I stormed through the house. Kitchen counters replaced with stainless steel staging boards. Guest room emptied, replaced by a blue velvet sofa, an Art Deco lamp. This was my life, my home. My mother sobbed, but I couldn't look at her. My eyes went to Dad, his chin quivering. Why did you do this?" He blinked, tears springing. We needed to sell before property taxes got too high. We thought you'd be coming home soon. You're relocating, yes? We were easing you in." I stared. Easing? By kicking me out? By selling my house and staging it for strangers? I felt my chest burning. I wanted to break something. He swallowed. "We're sorry. We thought you'd forgive us once you saw the profits. We split the proceeds with you. There's a check waiting. 10% for us, 90% for you." The check. The money. After what they'd done, it felt like a punchline. I blinked back tears, not because of the money, but because they'd underestimated me so profoundly. Then I asked the question that would set everything in motion. Why Pacific Horizon? Who in that company do you know? My father's shoulders sagged. "Son of Dan Granger, the real estate agent. He's a friend from church." Pacific Horizon's CEO, I realized, must be Lily Granger, Dan's daughter, fresh-faced, 28, and rumored to be co-founding an offshoot. The boss of the buyers was Dan's daughter. And in the next days, I would discover exactly who she was, how intertwined she'd become in my family's politics, and how she'd unwittingly replaced more than just the house. But that was the end of their world, because it was the beginning of mine. I stood in the gutted living room, the hush of the empty house pressing against my ears. My father wiped his face with a handkerchief, the same one he used at every charity benefit, and my mother sat curled in the blue velvet love seat, her hands folded in her lap, hollowed eyes tracking my every move. "Lily Granger," I said finally, pacing across the reclaimed hardwood. "Her family church. Your friend Dan's daughter. She runs Pacific Horizon now, right?" My father nodded, voice small. "She's the chief development officer, partner, really. She moved back from San Francisco last year. We thought you'd like the idea of someone young handling it. Someone young who got in the door because she was Dan Granger's kid." I spat. "And you thought I'd thank you for handing my house to nepotism?" My mother clutched her shawl. It happened fast. The building permits, the contractor bids, the staging company. It was overwhelming. We panicked and signed. Everyone assured us Lily was trustworthy. Her voice cracked. We thought she cared about community, about preserving the lilacs. She promised she'd replant them in the courtyard. I froze, sinking into the love seat's plush arm. My breath caught. She promised? She lied? My father sank beside me. "She said she'd landscape the new development with the same flowers you planted. She said her company would honor the history of Peach Street." I stared at the empty stool where my lilacs had stood. "History!" I laughed, a broken sound. She bulldozed it without a second thought. My mother's lips trembled. "I'm so sorry." I closed my eyes, the sting of betrayal flaring. "I'm not leaving until I speak to her." I stood, anger propelling me forward. "Where is her office?" My father swallowed and spat out an address in the industrial district near the train yard. "4th floor, Unit 406. She juggles meetings. I can call first if you want." I shook my head. "No, I want to see her face when I tell her exactly what she did." I grabbed my phone. "Let's go." The elevator smelled of damp carpet and stale air freshener. I stood rigid against the mirrored wall as the doors slid open onto the polished hallway of Pacific Horizon Developments. Sleek glass doors bore the company's name in brushed steel. My mother hovered behind me, Her purse clutched as if it were a lifeline. I pushed inside without knocking. The reception area was all clean lines and modern art, an abstract painting of red, white, and green blocks that looked like a cubist flower garden. A receptionist glanced up. "Can I help you?" I swallowed. "I need to see Miss Lily Granger." The receptionist's eyes flicked to my parents. "Do you have an appointment?" I squared my shoulders. "No, I'm her client." I slid a copy of the sale agreement across the desk. "I own 15 Peach Street, just sold to your company." Her face went blank for a second, then polite. "Please take a seat." She gestured to a leather sofa. My parents sank beside me, trembling. My fingers brushed the sale agreement, the old signatures, the notarized power of attorney statement, the ink still faint. Minutes dragged. Then the receptionist's heels clicked across the marble floor. Lily appeared, hair pulled back in a tight bun, tailored suit jacket hugging her waist. She carried a stack of folders and looked startled. "Miss Reyes, I wasn't expecting." She froze when she saw my parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Hudson." Her voice wavered. I let her fumble. "You heard of me, Lily?" I asked, my voice low. "I'm the one you evicted from her own home." Color rose in her cheeks. I'm sorry, I never meant for it to go through without your knowledge." The sale process was complex. My father handled the local details. I snorted. "Your father handled it because you pulled strings with the board. And you promised to keep the lilacs. But there's nothing but stumps in my parents' yard." Lily's eyes filled with tears. She clutched her folders. "Please believe me, it wasn't intentional. I thought I was under pressure from investors to close quickly." She ran a hand through her hair. "We have a court-ordered injunction on replanting trees. We were told the original root beds were too shallow." My mother gasped. "The root beds," she lied about that too. Lily's lower lip trembled. "I only just learned. I'll make it right. We'll replant mature lilac bushes within the courtyard." Her voice cracked. "I swear, I'll restore it." I leaned forward. "You'll restore it? You'll restore my childhood? My Wednesday garden parties? My wedding steps?" Dreaming was a bonus. Lily flinched. "I know, I want to buy the house back. At exactly the same price you sold it. No markup, and I'll personally handle the replanting." I stared at her eyes, narrowing. "Why would you do that?" She brushed back a tear. "Because I believed in community values. But I've been chasing profits so hard I lost sight of why we develop places in the first place. I can't undo what's happened, but I can make amends." My father gasped, tugged my mother's hand. My mother's shoulders shook with relief. I looked at Lily, young, sincere, and maybe naive. Or maybe really just driven to the wrong priorities. I felt something shift inside me, anger tempering into cautious hope. If she was willing to eat the cost, I could reclaim my home and hold her to that promise. I pulled the sale agreement back. "Write it up," I said. "Add a clause, mature lilac bushes replanted before next spring. You'll cover the landscaping cost. You'll have 1 month to close." Lily exhaled, wiping her eyes. Yes, I will." She took a breath. "And I'll join you. I'll oversee it personally." I nodded. "Then let's get started." I stood, handing her the agreement. "I'll have my attorney draft the papers. Meanwhile, tell your board I'm buying back my home and that I know exactly who you are." Lily nodded, swallowing. "I'll arrange it." 2 weeks later, I stood on my front lawn, back in my jeans and flannel. The lilac stumps still there. Beside me, Lily Granger wore boots and gloves, holding a mature lilac sapling. My parents watched from the porch, relief shining in their eyes. Lily waved the first spade of soil. "To new beginnings," she said softly. I handed her a shovel. "To new beginnings." We dug a deep hole, nestled the bush, and covered its roots. Beside us, 3 more saplings waited. The air smelled faintly of spring, of possibility. My father patted my shoulder. My mother wiped at her eyes. Lily stepped back, hands on hips. "I owe you more than this. But for now, this is my first step." I smiled at her. No longer suspect, but an ally in rebuilding what was lost. "Thank you," I said, "for coming back." She looked at the stumps I loved, then at the new shoots beneath, and nodded. "I'll see this through." As we planted the last bush, the garden felt whole again. Broken, replanted, hopeful. I realized my parents had found someone who would care for my home. Maybe they'd meant well, in their bumbling way, but I needed to find my own path back too. We stood in the fading afternoon light, the new lilacs swaying gently. I placed a hand on my parents' shoulders. "Let's go inside," I said. "I think I'm ready for coffee, and maybe pie." They nodded, the three of us moving toward the porch steps. Lily lingered, then joined us. And as we climbed those steps, I understood that sometimes you have to lose everything to discover who will truly stand by you, just as she had chosen, in the end, to stand with me.